Just you can describe what you're going to do.
All right.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thursday, April 11, 2024. And welcome to another lovely planning board meeting. Let's do a little roll call. Rick, can we start with you?
Rich Smith alternate. Mike Capel, member.
Bill Spence, member.
John Racine, member.
Morgan Dean member.
Catherine Brennan member.
Rich Rita, select board ex officio.
Okay, and Tara, you can hear us okay? I hope.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Now in the center. Oh, yeah, now he's going again, but there he is.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, Alan, you can hear us all right? Mr. Burko? I can't quite hear you yet. Let me know.
He may
Is
be
he muted?
getting in. He is, but I think he was just logging in, so it takes.
Oh, okay. We'll give him a couple of minutes. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm gonna seat Rick. I'm gonna seat Kathy.
I'm seated already.
Yeah,
He's a member.
Oh,
the member.
Just Rick, all you need to do.
just Rick.
That'll give you 7.
That'll be 7, yeah. Okay,
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first. Just to confirm.
sorry, Kathy. I didn't mean to. You mad at me? All right. Let's take a moment and kind of mute our ringers on our cell phones.
Mute our ringers.
If you wouldn't mind. Oh, dear. We can't have interruptions today with rings.
My ringer.
Okay, the minutes, if we could all take a look at these February 8 minutes. And see if we have anything that we'd like to take a look at. Okay.
Alan, you look very tired over there.
Really?
I just had the pleasure of spending 72 hours with my grandson at Rocking Horse Ranch.
Oh.
And that will tire out anybody.
Where is Rocking Horse Ranch?
You
take a motion on the minutes?
Yeah, anything on the February 8 minutes? Anybody?
No,
I take a motion?
I move we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's switch over to March 14 minutes. If we can find anything there. I don't really see anything.
Nope,
Looks pretty good.
it's
And this is the AI, correct?
Well, I mean, it's a tool. I still
It's a-
spend a couple hours.
It's a little different,
It's
yeah.
just a helper.
Yeah,
And that's with edits, and so, yeah.
instead of 6 hours, you're probably spending 4. Maybe.
Okay, so it depends, but it's a good helper tool that helps me, and then I can just, you know,
Which
Yeah.
AI are you using?
assembly. It's been a big. helper
Alicia has another helper.
Yeah.
And then
Maybe
edits
another-
and other helpers.
Artificial intelligence?
I move we accept the minutes as presented.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, done. Okay, we're moving right along with privilege of the floor, and I guess we could go right into new business. Now, again, I want to just caution everybody, and Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a conceptual meeting today.
Well, yes.
You're gonna kind of let us know what you'd like to do and,
Well, I wanna talk if you want to start.
yeah, go
Start.
ahead.
If you could pull up your master plan, page 25. Obviously, I came in here before, what I'm here gonna be doing is, cleaning up the garage area of the golf club. We're proposing to, remodel the actual garage building. I am proposing to put in 2 pickleball courts in basically, the dirt area to the north side of the parking lot area. I'm gonna try to, keep the tree buffer as best as possible. I'm gonna hug the road a little bit, on that side, that corner. I did talk to the safety officer, Dave Noyes, about it. We wanted to hug as close as we could to the area. In the buffer zone, there is a buffer zone of 25 feet, but we want to impinge on that a little bit, mainly with fencing in surrounding areas. The asphalt part of it is probably can be determined as a structure, even though it's just an asphalt floor.
Mhm.
But anyway, the reason I wanted to come here was to at least talk about a few other things. One is I'm a firm believer in site plan review. When it first came out back in the 80s, it was a lot of developers didn't kind of like it a lot, but to be honest, we have done enough projects where you actually pick up a couple of good things from site plan, and it ends up being a much better project. As long as we kind of all know that the job of site plan review is to basically tweak the plan, not necessarily deny the plan. Especially if I have gone to the master plan, and if you read the master plan, I think on page 25, it talks about recreational, a joint venture. It talks about in harmony with private and public entities and whatnot. I feel that reading this, I've followed this in the last 9 years pretty heavily. I think I'm well within the master plan. If you want to read it or look at page 25, I don't think we're overstepping our bounds at any point. The other thing is, if you go to the schedule on the zoning bylaws and look what is permitted by right, it's a big P on up of exactly what we're doing over there. There is no gray areas that I think that there are any gray areas. So I think that one of the reasons was to come here today was to have you interpret your master plan and find out, am I compliant with the master plan? Am I compliant with basically the zoning permitted uses? And to get that kind of out of the way. And then when we come in with more technical terms on the actual plans, then that's more of a technical issue to tweak it one way or the other. So that's really what I really wanted to do, is ask questions of you, and I need answers. That I am compliant with the master plan of this town that's been approved by you, this board, and basically accepted by the town. The zoning bylaws have been in place for a number of years, have been voted on by the residents, have not been challenged one way or the other. And I believe that I am well within the zoning bylaws with what I'm both proposing and what I'm actually have been doing. And that's one of the things I want to know by you. I also know that we're basically a commercial business within a residential neighborhood. There are about 400 private acres in this town. Of that, I control about 40 acres. So, it's hard for me not to be impeding on everybody and anybody. So it's almost impossible to have any issues with somebody's involved with whatever I do. Even if I paint the building or change a light bulb, it's going to impede somebody. And the idea is to work in harmony, back and forth, and try to get as best we can to mediate anybody's concerns, whether I feel I've done that, I allow people to traverse my property, I allow people to do, the neighbors that abut my property have used the property to get into their backyards. Some of them actually used it to get their septic systems in. So, I mean, it's not like we ever denied anybody access to the property. And it's an expensive piece of property to maintain.
If I may interrupt you for just a moment, this is just really a conceptual, you're kind of letting us know what you want to like to do, what you'd like to do.
No, I'm
We
asking
can't,
questions.
we can't do any voting or anything today. We just wanted to hear what you would like to do.
It's
And then
not
when
a
you wait a
public
minute,
meeting.
Craig, wait, just 1 minute. Just hear me out. Let's hear each other out here. When you come in with a plan, then we can give you answers. I'm gonna refer 1 moment to Tara to explain a little bit more. She's
No, Tara's not a resident. I invited her. She refused to come. I
Okay.
don't have, this is between us.
Okay, then I'm gonna tell you what's going on today. You're a conceptual plan today only. So far, you've only told me a little bit about your plan, not about what the abutters are doing and everybody else is doing. We want to know what you are doing. That's it. That's
I'm
all you
running
can
a
do today.
recreational area. I feel that I'm in compliant with the zoning bylaws and in compliant with the master plan. I'm proposing to put in pickleball courts and to renovate the garage.
Understood, yeah.
Right, I don't want to get into details of a plan because it's not a public hearing. All right, at a public hearing, you have to take, or you should take votes. Today, you can give opinions, and I can also ask questions, and you can give your opinion or a consensus of what you're looking for or not looking for.
I don't think we really can as a
You can do
board.
anything you want, you just, I'm not asking for, well, it's not a publicized hearing, so you're not gonna get in trouble by anybody saying that we're not invited here.
No, you're invited, public's invited, everything is
Right.
invited, but
So I'm not asking for a vote, you're saying you're, everything you speak is not a vote.
As
I'm asking us, as a board, as my neighbors, as a board of this town, what would you like us to do? That's what I'm getting at, I guess. And am I overboard, underboard, on target, or not on target?
Rich, you had
I,
something?
not having a plan in front of me, I would just say, in terms of zoning is concerned, the property that you are looking to remodel, that is zoned recreational, correct?
Yes.
And therefore, sports facilities are allowed on recreation. And I think that such things as a pickleball court can be considered a sport facility. So I think by right, you can develop your recreational property as under that rubric.
That's kind of what I want to hear.
Yeah,
All right.
But we don't have a plan. I mean, I'm not
I'm
saying.
not asking, I'm not,
specific.
We
I'm
need
not
your-
walking out of here and building it tomorrow.
Right,
So-
no,
we just need your plan in front of us.
What Richard just said is kind of what I want to hear.
Okay,
But that is not. That absolutely true, all right? I don't know how much the redevelopment of the garage. I think you would have to, definitely would have to go through us. If it's a major redevelopment, and there are other things you're talking about doing in that area, like an ice cream stand or stuff like that. All of that would have to go through us, I think.
No, I'm not saying I'm not gonna file a formal plan. But every time I call the engineers, it's $500. And I'm just gonna try to, the other thing I have a problem with is my times. I don't have the luxury of taking 3 years to build condos. I have a window of opportunity to build. And I need to get that done. And so I don't need, I want to get some of the conceptual plans things out of the way. I want to hear, one, that I'm somewhat compliant with the master plan that you've put together. And that I kind of fit the bill. If you look at private joint, it mentions private joint facilities there. And that's what I'm gonna try to hit it on. And it also calls for, the zoning calls for sports facilities and whatnot as a permitted by right. That part I want to get kind of out of the way. Along those lines, under zoning, you're allowed clubhouses. And by the definition of clubhouses, there is some food service available to that. So I just want to get those things kind of out of the way, and then we can get into, you know, how many feet for this, how many feet for that, how many parking spots, how we can mediate issues that some people will have, and I can address those issues one by one on a planned basis.
I 110% agree, and I think that everything you've said so far, I personally don't have a problem with. I think you have the opportunity to do those things, as Rich said, the things we just outlined. You have the right to do them. But the actual design and everything else should go through us, back to you, and I don't think this is gonna be a major problem.
No, but I just want to get the conceptual, with the word, I understand the
Yep.
word conceptual
Yep.
is the general idea. I don't want to come in with a set of plans to kind of get down to actually particulars about it and then have to run into other, like, it's not allowed or something, ideas, or it doesn't fit the master plan. That's the reason for the master plan, is for people like myself to kind of follow it. Or it also is available to people that want to buy into this town. I mean, I tell people all the time, one of the beauties of Waterville, nobody was born here. Everybody came here on their own choice. Unlike, I don't know, I grew up on the Cape, and if you weren't born on the Cape, you were an outsider from,
Yeah.
even though I spent 58 years there.
Yeah.
You know, so it was, you always going up against that wall. And, you know, this wall of, this, we've always done it this way type thing. So, things are evolving. I mean, they're just changing. You know, at one point, they didn't allow snowboards on the ski area. You know, now snowboards are available and are pretty much 30% of the market up there. So that's kind of like pickleball is kind of along that same line a little bit. That's how I see it. I personally don't play. I don't think I'll ever will play. But that's how I see it. My idea is to balance the membership. It's going to be within our membership. The property is the only way that property really runs is it runs through memberships. Some of you have been here long enough to know, prior to myself, the Waterville company basically ran it, lack of a better word, retail. Meaning they just prayed that somebody was going to show up there and pay them $20. Well, you're on a 14-mile dead-end street. It's kind of hard to sit there and wait for those people to come in. But where the value is in the residents. And that's what I knew that, and that's what I tried to hit right off the bat. Now the residents and the members are asking for other activities, let's say, or more of a club atmosphere. And that's what I'm trying to provide, basically.
Mhm.
Not saying,
You're saying that the pickleball edition adds to the club atmosphere?
of course, yes.
Okay, no, I
I mean,
accept
some
that.
people wanted me to put a pool in it, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. If you allow me 2 days, you can use it.
Yeah, this is that there are two pools already over there in the at the fitness center.
That's a different business, that's run
Yeah.
differently.
Yes,
We run ours pretty much tight, meaning we run for the residents only. Meaning when you, if you were over there, you would notice that we probably know 99% of the people at any given day. Night, day, whatever. And that's the value. The value is in the residents. The value is not in transient guests. Transient guests, just by the sheer nature, are transient. And you, on a 14-mile dead-end street, you're gonna be waiting a long time for those guys to show up, if they ever show up. The value of this town is the fact that it's a town. It's the fact that we live here and we chose to live here. We're the ones bringing the money in. We're the ones that are spreading the money around. And if you've noticed, the businesses that are doing well are the ones that are hitting the residents, i.e. the Coyote, let's say, for a perfect example. They hit it hard. They cater to the residents. And when I came here, that's what I saw, and that's what I tried to do, and that's what I think I'm doing. So this is all falls into the same category. We're here to satisfy our members who happen to be residents.
Mhm.
We're really not catering to an outside population. It would not work. It hadn't worked in the past. I don't think it's gonna work in the future. I personally don't see, us changing more. I think we're just gonna get a bigger town. We're gonna go from 600 to 1,000, which would be kind of cool. I think that's where the town is headed. And that would be a very successful number. We would have better services, we would have the businesses, and there's literally only 5 business owners in this town. There's not that many. And there's not anybody coming in to say, I want to start a business here either. So I don't think that will ever happen. I think that what you see is what you get, and the best we can do is tweak what we got. And that's what I'm trying to do.
You have something, Kathy?
No,
Now, how much bigger will the building become?
0.
0.
You're gonna use the building, you're gonna,
I am gonna ask for a, roughly a 20 by 22 foot second building. Put up at this point in time, I'm just gonna put a footprint on it because I believe it will be a 2-year project on some of the stuff. And I do want to just put it on there that this is what I'm proposing thinking of in the future was to put a 20 by 22 foot building. One of the problems with the existing building, there's positives and negatives to the existing building. The negatives is the height. I can't get hardly anything inside those doors. They're only 7-some feet high. And I cannot get it. Once I do get in there, I can't lift anything up really. Thus the building, although the building is insulated, it was built like a house almost. It's got heat in there. It's got sewer in there. It's got a 100 amp service in there. It has all the things that you need. It was a very expensive maintenance garage, to be honest with you, when they put it in there, but he built it more like a house than a maintenance garage. I need another building that would be basically get some height to it so I can get something up in the air, at least 3 or 4 feet off the ground. And to do work on vehicles.
Craig, is that city sewage?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And the building that there now, you wanted to add like an ice cream?
If you look at the
stand
building
or something?
dead on, to the left, you'll see 2 windows and a door where
Yep.
there's no garage doors. That area right there. What I'm gonna propose to do is put in a ticket window, snack bar window, and actually have 2 bathrooms, exterior access to 2 bathrooms,
Okay.
men's and ladies. I am thinking, and it has to go over to the selectmen about that, would be to ask, I do believe that I will open them up to the public. I hate when you go into a business and it says right on the front door, no public bathrooms
Yeah.
available.
Yeah.
It's not a very welcoming sign.
Yeah.
When we open the clubhouse, we do, every day that we're there, somebody will walk in and use the bathrooms. That has nothing to do with anything that we're selling.
Yep.
And they feel uncomfortable and we look at them uncomfortably too, because they're not walking in with toilet paper, so. But we don't deny it. And because it's just not worth the aggravation to deny. But there is no public bathrooms available, certainly not in that side of town. I think we're gonna put them in, we have to put them in. I believe we have to put them in. And make them available to our members and to people, and at the same token, just kind of let the door stay open, I guess.
And again, tell us, just so everyone can understand, including the YouTube, the pickleball court you'd like to put in there? Just tell us a little bit about that.
Pickleball courts are, they can be constructed with, asphalt or cement. Asphalt is gonna be a little quieter than a cement surface. The cement surface will obviously last longer, but I'm gonna go with the asphalt, and then we'll cover it with a membrane cover on it, just like tennis court. They are, half the size of a tennis court. So by putting 2 courts in, it's really the size of 1 tennis court. The other thing we're gonna try to do is push them as close to the road as possible. And to get them as furthest away from any residential properties.
Okay,
We've got them now that we're going with the idea. And the fencing is another item where I'm gonna go with a solid wood fencing. Versus a mesh galvanized steel fencing.
okay,
For 2 reasons, to be honest with you. One is, we're up here in the middle of nowhere, there's wood available to us, we can go down to the sawmills and get, cheap shiplap lumber and build fencing.
Yeah.
Galvanized fencing, you'd have to bring in, and, so we're gonna stain it, and it will be, I think it will be visually somewhat appealing. We're probably thinking to do, on the bylaws and the zoning bylaws, you can put fencing into the setback requirements if they're less than 10 feet. So I think we're gonna go 9 feet, 9.5 inches, kind of thing. It will be solid wood fencing, and we will put some more arborvitaes or year-round greens around the backside, between the backside and the nearest neighbors. Let's say on the south side of the lots.
and that's for the sound deadening?
Sound deafening, yes.
Yeah, okay.
There is a sound difference, there is a pitch difference, there is all kinds of differences than
Yeah,
than tennis. It's, I guess I'm just gonna go back to this snowboard versus skiing. There is a difference. There's a
Sure.
speed difference on snowboards. There's a different way they go down the hill, blah, blah, blah. But it seems to eventually, it's all shaken out.
no, it sounds like you're trying to make every effort to kind of calm the
The
sound.
other thing is that we're doing is that we're not opening it to the public. Generally, you're gonna have to join the membership, and it's an add-on membership to that
Okay,
part. So we're not, if somebody drove up here from Plymouth, they would have to join in order to play.
But you will not have a pickleball only membership.
No, I don't. The idea is, to me, is to balance that membership, meaning, somebody that's might play pickleball twice, 3 times a week, maybe play golf once a month, that type of person. That's what I want to attract. I also want to, there are some couples that don't join as couples because, I'm just gonna get chauvinist, the wife doesn't play golf. So, but she'll play pickleball.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get them as a full membership now. And maybe she might come out once, or, she might find she likes the golf after she joins.
mhm,
But that's the idea. The idea is to balance. Anytime you have a business, you need to balance your business. You cannot sell, they cannot, Jugtown cannot sell just whole milk. They have to sell the 2% and the lactase, all different kinds.
Yeah.
You cannot just sell one thing.
Okay.
And that's kind of where we've gone with this business. I mean, we have basically 3 revenue sources there. We have the tubing, we have the golf, and we have the food and beverage. They're all tied together. None of them work on their own.
mhm.
None of them. And if it wasn't for all 3 working together, there would be nothing going on over there. It would,
Tara's got her hand up.
Oh, Tara, one moment, Rick, you had,
Just one quick question. So generally, maybe we would have 8 people showing up to play pickleball, because
Yes,
it's usually
that's the max.
outside.
yes.
So, you're gonna potentially lose some parking over there. For that, I think pickleball is a little bit easier to walk up versus golf, where you're gonna carry a golf bag.
Right.
Maybe.
We're gonna, the parking over there, I've been paving it in the last couple of years. I've added onto the pavement, gonna add on a little bit more this year too. With the paving provides line parking, which never happened before. And it was questionable whether whoever parked, we had employees parking over there, but, and we'll continue to have the employees park over there. At best, there's gonna be 8 people on the courts. There might be 4 people waiting to get on the courts. There might be a couple waiting to get off the courts. I'm not saying just because 8 people are there, you need 8 parking spots, you're gonna need more than 18. I believe, that we will have somewhere in the neighborhood of, 17 to 20 parking spots lined on asphalt over there. We also allowed to have shared parking, which comes into play a little bit, or at least should be considered a little bit. We have 26 parking spots up at the clubhouse on the property, another 10 off the street, which are permitted by the selectmen. We also have another 10 up by the tennis courts. Those are our parking spots. They are counted on our property as our parking spots, and we could talk, not that anybody's gonna park up there and walk all the way down. They're 90% work for the tennis courts, but we are providing parking for the tennis club. Which I'm happy to do. But that needs to be counted toward us, more toward them. So I mean, we're in the neighborhood of almost 68 parking spots on the property will be designated. I think the 68 parking spots that we're gonna designate on the entire property is more than sufficient to handle 90% of whatever happens over there. There is gonna be that 10% time, which we all know about, which there is no parking available anywhere in town.
Tara, you had your hand up? Go ahead.
Yes, I have some comments. There were a couple things that Craig mentioned that in reference to the zoning, and I think it's important that he leave the conceptual with a clear understanding of the zoning. The zoning includes tennis courts in the definition of structures that need to meet the setback. So my interpretation would be that pickleball courts would be the same and need to meet the setback. In reference to fences, it's fences more than 3 feet, that they have to be 10 feet setback. It's not a 10-foot fence. A fence up to 3 feet can be in the setback. If it's more than 3 feet, it has a special 10-foot setback instead of the usual setback.
Does mention.
I'm not done. The 2 things I think it would be helpful to the applicant for the board to talk a little bit about today would be whether you're gonna expect to see any landscaping or screening on the plan, and whether you have any concerns about pedestrian safety with the operation kind of being on 2 sides of the road. And then for the rest, he should be looking toward the site plan regulations and the list of submission items.
All right, I think that let's just go backwards on the safety thing. I would like to have an arrangement with our safety officer, Dave Noyes. Have met with him yesterday about it.
Yep.
And I think I would like to leave the general safety up to him. I think he could provide a letter saying that it's an ongoing thing, and safety is an ongoing item anyway. It's not cut and dry. You sometimes need to see how things operate and then tweak them further. But I would like to leave the safety part of it up to him to regulate. He is your zoning officer in this town.
Right.
I don't think all you people here are more in the conceptual type plans or the whatnot, and I think we should leave it up to him to say if he's happy or not happy with the safety of the operator.
Dave's on, so.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, we don't need to drag him in today, but I think that's how I would like to leave the safety part. I don't have the zoning bylaws in front of me right now, but it does talk about fencing in the setback requirements. And they're saying that fencing under 10 feet is not a structure, thus you can put it almost anywhere. The setbacks are for structure strictly.
I'm sure when you come in with your plans, we
Well,
can
that's
work
an
it out.
interpretation. I mean, what is the structure? I think, their zoning officer is the one that determines what's structure and what's not a structure in this town or any town. And in the buffer zone, you cannot put like buildings, that's obvious. But there are other things that can go in there. It's not a void space. It's not a dead man's alley.
I did want to ask you I forget what you call it, the holding area for your gravel and stones and all that. Is that gonna be moved?
We have a compost pile, a lot of that stuff over there is compost piling.
Yeah,
You know, for the people that are recyclable, I'm the ultimate recycler.
Yeah.
Those are gonna be moved off-site. I'm still working on a plan for the compost pile, but we do have land up the hill.
Yep.
We do have land in the middle. It could be put in there where it's not really, we dump grass and sticks and stuff like that in the compost piles and then turn them over periodically. We do give out, people have, because we create more compost than we actually need. And that stuff just takes years to accumulate into. I'm gonna move that out. The other item over there is, we call it hot dressing sand, which is an expensive sand that comes in and out of there. I'm gonna definitely move that. That comes in twice a year by a 10-wheeler, triaxle actually. And we can put that where the tubing sheds are down there and put it in the middle of the court.
sure.
So we're gonna get all that junk out of there. I'm gonna put more fencing in. The other thing is gonna give me an opportunity to make a couple of dump runs over there to get some of the hoarding stuff that I got out of there. Instead of having the fence that's to the right of the building now open directly to the road, we're gonna block that up and have it come in from the parallel side, I think.
Which side?
It would be on the western side.
Well,
So you're not, when you're driving by Boulder, you're not gonna be able to see right in. All right, and we're gonna try to contain some of that stuff in there. There is gonna be some moving of equipment and whatnot, and I'm gonna try to reorganize it a little bit better. And the classic story of, just hoarding junk. A piece of wood here that you don't really wanna throw away and you wanna hold on to,
Sure.
you might use it 10 years from today. So maybe we'll use lessons of that, but the actual dirt piles are gonna disappear from that site. That's one of the reasons, kind of not the only reason, but it's kind of the benefit of this project is that this property is a very valuable piece of property in the middle, ground zero, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know if they could have put this maintenance garage in a different spot. I don't know. Maybe if they had more land, I guess, I don't know, but I've been looking at it for 9 years now. I don't know where you would put it, but I think what we just do is just run it cleaner and better. In order to do that, it's like peer pressure. So if you invite people to use the building more, you might want to keep it cleaner. So to answer that question, some of that stuff's all that stuff's gonna disappear.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm, so when you're ready to bring in the site plan, the landscaping will be on that?
No, I'm not gonna hire a landscape architect. That's the other thing I want to talk about. I can put a cheat sheet down saying that I'm gonna, I'm agreeing to put up, let's say, 20 arborvitae trees. Put on the ones that they get constructed, you might have to put on in different spots than on the plan. We're gonna have to trim some trees over there now. One just came down, so one of the bigger trees is actually down. So that just changed.
thought it was to make people have to hit the golf ball over it.
Yeah, so things do change, and I would rather do a list of, than have a picture, nice colored picture.
Yeah, you'll need some type of,
Yeah.
But I'm
Some
saying,
type
when I
of
say a
idea
landscape
plan.
plan, I'm thinking more, we'll have a plan. I can
Yeah.
give you a list of what I agree to put in. And be honest with you, it might go, it's never gonna go down. If anything, it's gonna go up on the number of trees. We're always buying stuff. I mean, would like to open up the front of the building a little bit. There's these little sucker, I call them sucker trees that are just growing there, ugly. The big white pines get kind of lost in this little mess. And I'd like to take the little crop down, put in a grass area with irrigation and put a lawn actually underneath these white pines. I think the white pines are gonna be there as long as we'll ever be there. And I think they need to be accented a little bit. Plus, it would open up the building. We're gonna be in the process of actually renovating painting the building. And we just put a cupola up on there the other day. We're talking about, we do have a permit for a small carport on the left-hand side. You'll see that on the plans. That is more for a visual look than actuality. And we're gonna try to get the building really kind of mirror the clubhouse look, so that the two buildings will actually, you could tell that they're owned by the same or run by the same business.
That makes
So
sense.
we're looking to get that building up to the same speed as, let's say, the clubhouse is today. So all those things are in works to try to make it, because it's, there's $21 million worth of condos just went across the street. We are gonna provide more buffer than they are. They put no buffer on their side of the street, but we'll have some. Buffers work good and bad. Landscaping works good and bad. The noise thing is gonna be an issue all the time, but there's noise anytime there's activity, period. And we'll try to mediate as best you can. I just got back from Hilton Head. I went down there and actually saw where their pickleball stuff is down there. They put them on existing tennis courts, in these existing tennis courts, the ones except for the private clubs were right in the parking lots practically of the condo complexes down there. And that's where they're having the issues.
Morgan had something.
Two things. When you do landscaping, I would hope you would err towards the side of native plants rather than like other things. I know they can tend to be more expensive, but the New Hampshire Forest Service actually gives you you can buy a plug for a tree. And then the other thing is, do you have any specific questions? I know we have limited time today. You've had the floor for 45 minutes. What specific questions do you have for us that we can answer?
The biggest one I got, on your site plan review, on the things that I have to submit. I hired Horizon Engineering to do the plans. Horizon did the original plan of that building when Cantlin subdivided the property and built that building. They did an instrument survey at that time. For me to get an instrument survey crew out there today is like October. I'm saying that they can present a plan based off the old instrument survey, but not verified. They need to re-verify this plan. We have not added, the only structure we're gonna add is the physical pickleball courts. That's it. The building is staying exactly where it was. We did not move it. We haven't moved it in the 15, 20 years that it's been there. So I'm asking to waiver that our instrument survey plan be waived until the as-built plan, because as soon as we get this thing done, we will call them and ask for an as-built, and then we will wait till they're gonna be out there, I think, to do some work on some of the road work. They're bidding on some of the road work at this time. So I'm hoping to pick up on that.
Rich?
It just, which brings up to my mind the question of the timeline.
That's as fast as possible. I'm not into this. I gotta limit it. I need to get this thing approved one way or the other.
So you'd be coming in with a
I can come in, I can
site
find them all.
plan.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta give the necessary notice and so forth, so.
Yes,
the
the
next
21
meeting,
days, next meeting.
next meeting, you're gonna
Yes, I
bring
don't
it
see
in.
why I
Okay.
can't make that. It's not a stamped plan. All right, and you understand the difference between, but it's the same engineer who stamped the previous plans for camp. So it's not gonna change that much. Or not, shouldn't change at all, actually. So, but they do need to re-verify it because the gentleman that stamped it before is no longer working for them, and the new one would have to come in and verify it. I'm asking you to waiver that requirement under the, your conditions of major site plan review at the time. It's gonna be my big waiver. To answer your question, that's my big thing, and that's strictly a time and it's strictly a money deal too. As it is now, the engineering will probably approach a third of the budget that I have proposed to do this. And that's pretty high. And I think anybody that's done any work, you can talk to the town, they can't get these guys out here, there's limited amount of people to do this stuff, and I think I'm trying to piggyback on it, them coming out anyway. They can give us a plan, based on the data that he had from the previous submittals.
Mhm.
And I bet you it's within inches. Because we didn't move the buildings.
Bill, you had something?
Yes, what you've said so far is you're not gonna change the dimensions of the building.
No.
Okay, so
Or
the building
location.
stays the way it is, you're just gonna renovate it, paint it, put a facility where on the right-hand side of the building to do tickets and to serve, you know, minor meals, they're gonna serve snacks.
Yeah.
And on the other side, on the Snows Mountain side, is there gonna be any change to that side of the building?
No, there's 4 garage bays there now, they'll stay there.
So the building not gonna get any higher?
No,
Okay. And then all the dirt's gonna go away and you're gonna put pickleball courts where the dirt is.
correct.
How are you gonna fit 17 parking spaces in?
We actually have, right now, there are, right in front of the building, there are 12 on. If we haven't lined them, but we're gonna line.
Okay, so people can park there, but
And there'll be a.
machinery
we gotta put a
can
drainage in, so we're gonna put a drainage tank in, that's the other waiver I want. To do drainage. This property does not really put off a lot of drainage. 90% of the water that we're getting on our parking lot is coming from this road. These roads do not have proper drainage on them. Their drainage that they do have installed do not work. And we're accepting water on all the property from every Stamp Street available here. And it's obviously a pet peeve of mine, you know, and for me to put a drainage plan together, I am gonna show some tanks in there, but we're not, to do the soil testing. The reason behind the soil testing is you dig a hole, like a perk test hole, to see what's down there. And see how much soil, a stone pack you actually need to instruct, so that it will take X amount of gallons. I would like to do it in one shot deal, meaning you bring the machine in, dig the holes, get the tank ready to come, and then just make the stone pack to fit what is in there for ground cup underneath there. I don't know what's underneath there. I don't think it's been disturbed. There is about a foot of ledge rock on there now. But we are gonna provide our drainage for what we consider. To get an engineer to do all the calculations, I think it's unfair for me to do it because I now have to take into consideration all this road runoff, which I'm assuming, I keep hearing that it's gonna get fixed. I don't see it getting fixed, but it's unfair for me to calculate road runoff. And to do a full-fledged drainage plan ahead of time when it's actually just easier to do it on site in one-shot deal. And
what
so
exactly do you mean by tank? I mean, it's
you've seen the septic tanks, let's call them, the round circular tanks with the holes in them.
concrete structure.
Yes, so you dig a hole, put that tank in the ground with a cover on it that accepts water.
Mhm.
And how you calculate it is you take the impervious surfaces and you multiply that times how much water on a 3-inch storm or whatever, and how much impervious surface you have to maintain. There's a calculations on how you do that. Now you get down to the ground. If the ground is hard as a rock or all clay, you have to dig further. You have to remove the clay layers, and so that the water will percolate down
Yes.
and eventually hit Mad River. That's the idea,
Mm.
is to get down. I know on the golf course side, I have dug holes where we have problems with clay. Bedrock is at 22 feet. So there's only so far you can go with this stuff anyway, before you hit bedrock. One of your criterias is to have, and the criterias are made for subdivision roads. I mean, if you're putting in a mile of road, I think you want to get all this stuff calculated. I'm not proposing to do any of that. It's just really a small minor project.
Mm.
I would like to get rid of the water because it's a pretty flat surface over there. And I would like to get rid of the water that I generate. I don't like the idea of getting water that the town generates and the town refuses to clean the drains.
Mhm.
You know,
So Craig, I'm gonna ask, have you got enough information? We got a lot more.
well, I'm asking for, you know, the waiver part would be huge. Because we get here with a meeting and you're saying, no, I need instrument surveys and I need engineered studies done. Then we're talking like 2 years.
I don't think we can
Yeah.
do that. We need,
No, you can, if you look at.
Today.
Go through, not today,
yeah,
but in general, you're definitely can do. I mean, if you look at the purpose of site plan review, the protection of the current thing, and then if you get to the last pages, it says waivers.
Mhm.
So it is physically possible, whether you agree or not, however you agree, would have to be, that's where I'm going at.
So it says waivers upon written request by the applicant. Do you
Yes,
have a
that
written
will-
request?
It will be on the submittal of the application.
okay, that's good, that's fine.
Carol has her hand raised and.
Yeah, Kathy, go ahead.
Just out of it's my ignorance again, just so, okay, so a site plan comes in, we review it, then we still have to have a public hearing after that, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Then you-
So before we accept it as complete, or we accept it as complete first, and then like as far as with the waivers, like would we get public comment on approval or disapproval of the waivers, or would we approve or disapprove the waivers first? Before the public, you know what I'm saying, before the public?
That's up to the chairman.
Okay.
Normally,
I
the
wouldn't-
application would come in, one of the first things you have to vote on is whether or not it's the applicant is complete.
Tara, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I can answer her question first. When there are waivers of application requirements, that has to be part of the vote to accept it as complete. So there's not public input on that kind of waiver. I had my hand up because I am able to tell you what my recommendation will be on the waiver request for the stamped survey. Would be that the one piece that I think you will need verified by a surveyor would be the distance between the right-of-way and the closest point of the pickleball court to make sure that that meets the required setback.
I'm gonna take, it could be at my risk. If once we get constructed and the instrument surveys come out there and say it's instead of 25 feet, it's 22 feet. Then I can either take 3 feet off or redo it.
Mhm.
It's at my risk. I'm willing to risk that amount of money to do this. It's not a big project. It's not a building. I don't have to pick it up and move the building. I could actually cut the asphalt if I had to. I might, thinking about it here, we did submit a conceptual plan to Tara. She did come back with some suggestions, which are very helpful. We're going to address all those. Some of them I just addressed here was mainly the
Okay,
waiver part.
Sure.
And then the shared parking parts. The other thing I might do is go to the, I think they call it Board of Adjustments, and just try to get a pre-waiver. And maybe not use it, but I could actually ask for one that I can get within the setback of this 25 feet from the actual road layout. The road layout is bounded out there. There are road bonds out there, so I mean, we can tape it off. The tapes are only accurate within a couple of feet. Instrument surveys are accurate within 0.2 of an inch. You can do a GPS. We have done GPS on this. These plans are being created by GPS, which are kind of similar to your AI stuff. I mean, they're pretty damn accurate. But they're a lot more accurate than the old tape measures.
Mhm.
John, can I just hop in to give him some procedural advice?
Yep, go ahead.
So Craig, the way that you can do that would be to provide a zoning permit application to Dave, and he's on here now, showing the pickleball court within the setback, and he can deny it, and then you can appeal to the zoning board. They're not able to give an advisory or kind of preemptive decision, but if you do the form so that he can go through the motions of denying it, then you can go to the zoning board and save some time that way.
And the reason for that is that we were trying to push it as close to the road as possible. Obviously, we don't want to be inches away from the road, but the 25 feet is a big, if we could save 5 feet here, 5 feet there. It just brings it, right now, we're about 320 feet from the edge of our nearest residential neighborhood. that's literally 10 times the setback of normal setbacks. So we're as far away as we can. If I can push it another 5 feet, I would like to push it another 5 feet. That would take, first of all, I would take down less trees or trim less trees. And I think, they're gonna do the road a little differently anyway, I guess. So yes, I might submit a letter, plan to Dave. Hopefully he'll deny it or he'll approve it, take your pick. And if he approves it, away we go.
Okay.
If he denies it, I can get the ZBA to, overturn his decision.
Okay, Rich?
Just a quick question and, sorry, I should know the answer to this, but the paved walkway between the travel lanes and your property, do you know whose property that actually is?
Well, I believe it's 100% town.
Is that town?
Yeah, the road layout out there is pretty wide.
Sure.
Huh?
That's what we're waiting.
We're waiting for the engineer.
Right, but I mean,
Right,
I
we really, right.
the road is bounded. There's a bunch of bounds on Boulder Path. I mean, it was. I believe personally that it's almost 100% on town
I
property.
think it's town property.
Yeah, but that's gonna get crunched a little or changed a little bit too, as you notice that when they're without the sidewalks being put on there, they actually are paving less. So,
Rick, you had a question?
This is a little bit random, but I just want to remind the board that, I think 3 or 4 of us had to recuse ourselves from Craig's last application, so we just want to be ready when we get to a formal proposal or site plan review that we have.
Yeah, and we're going
That
to,
was a different property.
We're gonna talk about recusal with town council.
what that's happening,
Okay.
But
That's-
it was also a different property.
But it's the same
It's all the
property, I
same.
believe. and I'm-
Same owner.
Just wait until the
We'll see what
discussion
we say.
with town council.
yeah, we're
what
gonna
I'm-
clarify.
What I'm gonna say is that you're my neighbors. We're all in this together. I don't wanna recuse anybody unless you have a preconceived notion that this is not good. If you don't wanna listen to the evidence presented or look at the plan, if you have a preconceived notion that.
No, we're fine with that, and I
Yeah,
understand.
But
it's-
as far as being
it's-
a direct abutter, that in my mind is not enough to
It's,
recuse.
it's not something that go ahead.
You're gonna have the discussion with council. You understand what Craig's position is.
Yes,
Mhm.
we do.
And so I think you ask that of town council.
We're gonna clarify that today.
Yeah.
And then we'll have an
I'm praying
answer
you stay
for you.
on.
Yep.
No,
Mr.
Morgan
Chairman?
did run a good meeting though.
No offense, but doesn't bother me at all.
Oh, go ahead.
My understanding is the basis of this instrument measurement is, the instrument measurement pertains to the building.
It
Is that-
pertains to structures. So
But
this goes back and forth. I mean, it's up to the the building inspector to determine what a structure is and what not a structure is. It's something that's in the ground that's semi-permanent, and asphalt is generally considered permanent.
Mhm.
But it can be moved easier than a building. The surrounding area or a fencing or a landscape fencing, those are not considered structures, especially if they're 10 feet or less. If you get up to a higher fencing, which I don't think our bylaws call for, then it's a whole different ballgame, but we're not going that high. The other thing is there's gonna be stone dust outside of that area. Like if you were running off the court, the courts, if you look at a tennis court, they're much bigger than the actual lined area. The lined area is basically the structure. I mean, that's what we consider the structure.
Okay. What-
So,
But-
yes,
My question or my statement is that if the majority of what's already there has been measured some time ago when Caitlin built it.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna change it, then the fundamentals of that measurement aren't going to change.
hopefully not.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
will say that on the clubhouse, we picked up the fact is it used to be 2 lots over there. And he built that building right on the rock, right between the 2 lots. And I solved that problem by getting rid of one of the lots.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna have that problem with that garage.
Right.
There was a separate lot there and we have combined those lots today. So the back sides really doesn't come into play on it. So I think you answer your question. No, it should not change. I'm hoping it doesn't change unless the the other day, the earth moved a little bit or something.
So Craig, I think you have a pretty good understanding of what you need to do. We have a pretty good understanding what's going on. We really gonna run out of time for you, so if we could close your meeting for right now, and we gotta get on with the rest of the board meeting. You've got pretty good understanding with everything.
As long as you're happy with what I said.
Yeah,
Can't guarantee that.
well, we're happy with what's going on, what we have to do, what we have to listen to, and what we're gonna, what
I
you
mean,
have to
we're
do and
happy
what we
that-
have to do.
That I'm trying to follow the master plan.
Yeah.
And follow zoning as bylaw, right? That's
Yeah,
what-
we have a better idea of what you wanna do.
I think your conceptual objectives have been met. The business of approving though that's what's
That comes out-
bothering people around the table, in that we can't provide approval until we see the plan.
I'm not asking for the approval, I'm asking, the big questions that I have is the conceptual stuff. A lot of people, you know, remember it as strictly a golf course, and it's obviously changed over the number of years.
Okay, and I'm going to close this right now, okay? I'm sorry, but we really gotta get going forward, because we have a lawyer coming in at 10 to go over questions that pertain to your project, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig, very much. Everyone looks good, no hands up. We're gonna go down to old business, planning board procedures. Let's just hang on and save that for when the lawyer comes in at 10.
Sure.
There's some questions there that we want to go over. One thing I would like to say though, again, is if there's,
Thank you, Craig.
we got a lot of things coming up this year. And if there's any comments that come up on an email, there's no voting on an email. Period. Okay, we all got that, right?
Sir.
Let's, and any other questions on the procedures, we'll run it by the lawyers.
Well, there really shouldn't be any emails going. It should only be going through you.
That's
what
correct.
My understanding. is.
Yeah, but
Yes.
sometimes
Or
there
if I
are
had a
questions.
question, like I CC'd you on it, even though it wasn't to you.
Yeah, yeah.
So that you're always aware of everything that's.
Yeah, yeah.
happening, So you can make sure your emails.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be good, because I would be embarrassed to come in here and say, what?
I guess that, you know, if you guys need anything specifically from me, like you want something printed, you need a, you know, things that are, you know, but if you have questions regarding what's gonna go on, that need more of a John, just include John too.
Yeah. Yep, that would be great. So, actually, I'm going to ask Tara to step in here with the master plan action plan. Tara and I discussed a few things. And this actually, Alan Burko. Yes, you. This kind of, is part of your question that you had, and Tara, I'm gonna ask you if you could explain to Alan why we put it into an action plan for the C1 and VC that Alan was trying to get answers on. I'm not sure if you understand what I mean, but I'm hoping you do.
Not exactly, but I'll take a shot at it and you can tell me if I did. So the planning board spent a couple years writing a new master plan, spent a lot of time on vision and goals, then took a close look at land use, facilities, recreation, natural resources, and as a final step, developed the action plan that went out with your agenda, and with the goal that the plan be implemented through carrying out the action plan, and that these are the steps that would be guided by the vision and goals and the planning board's best guess at or best feeling about how to achieve or move the town closer to the vision and goals. So the idea was that the planning board, and ideally with a joint meeting with the select board and conservation commission, would go through the action plan every year and pick out what your priorities for the year would be. And that this would drive your activities relative to things like the zoning in the C1 and VC. because that's the legally required process for having a foundation for your zoning.
And Alan, I know you had questions, so if you could go right ahead and ask those questions.
Well, I don't remember exactly what all my questions were, but if you really look at the master plan, there's tons of contradictions or potential contradictions in it. So I think it's our job to resolve those contradictions. You know, it says support businesses, but respect the environment, you know, things that just don't necessarily agree with each other. So my thought was, let's put something out there for the last big areas that can be developed that are very specific, that, you know, essentially when Tyrell comes in with their gondola plan and their conceptual plan, do we want more retail there or do we want more residential there? And my idea is I want something that's going to generate the most taxes for the town. And to me, that's residential, high density residential. You know, you just heard Craig said there's no business that's going to come into town. But even that's not my business or the planning board's business. If Tyrell has the right to and wants to build retail, so be it, they can. My goal is to say, let's have a higher priority for high density residential than we do for retail. The last email I sent to everybody, I thought made a pretty compelling case that residential pays a higher amount of taxes, and the town needs taxes. Retail doesn't pay that amount of taxes. Retail, I've never heard anybody in Plymouth say, gee, I'd like to go to Waterville to go shopping. Again, that's not my business, but as a planning board member, I want to plan so the town has the funds to do all these things that we're talking about. And to me, that means more residential and less retail.
Mark, you had your hand up?
John, can I just respond a little bit? Just a minute.
Tara, hang on 1 minute.
Mark is next.
Mark had his hand up, so I'm gonna let him speak.
I did speak with the town assessor and to kind of provide you with background information about the town and about property values like you had asked last time.
Yeah.
He is willing to come in and sit down with you and kind of help you understand how the property valuations are determined as you ask. So he's willing to come in to either the May or June meetings.
Oh, okay.
And spend some time with you and answer your questions. So
Okay.
I just wanted to put it out there that will be good information. He's very knowledgeable about this stuff and he can explain the process that he goes through to determine. I know there were questions at the last meeting that you had about how property values are assessed, and he can provide that.
What's his name? I'm sorry.
Stephen Hamilton.
Stephen.
Stephen
ahead,
runs
Tom.
his own assessing company right now, but he was also the director of municipal services at DRA. So he was in charge of all assessing in the state of New Hampshire. So he knows what he's talking about. So he can give you a lot of background.
Excellent. Excellent. Sounds good. Tara, go ahead. You're on.
But my question is, why is that the focus now? And Alan, I don't agree with you. And I think if you watched, the recordings of the 2 years of master plan discussions on this board, there aren't contradictory recommendations. I'm a professional planner who's been at this almost 40 years. And that was my job, was to say to the planning board, if they said, well, what about this? For me to say, well, have you thought about that? And maybe here's a way that balances your different goals. And this is the action plan that came out of that. And Alan, I hear you saying, well, you think the goal should be prioritizing the tax base. That's not a goal that's in the master plan.
And
There's a vision and goals that includes considering the tax base and balancing development with concerns about the tax base, but not picking that one goal out and saying that's the priority. And that's my concern right now about the planning board kind of tossing aside all that work, the legally adopted action plan, and following a path that one individual planning board member feels strongly about instead.
All right, Tara, let me respond. Yes, you're right. To a certain extent, there are tons of contradictions in the master plan. Okay. The biggest one is the town in the very beginning says, we want a healthy environment. Putting a gondola in the middle of a town, I'm not so sure is healthy. Okay, let's start with that. Hold on a minute.
It's his opinion.
That's a personal opinion. though.
I think we spent 2 years on the master.
We
Yeah, I
did,
do too.
yeah,
Fine tooth comb.
we
Okay.
spent a lot of time and.
And had I known what we were doing, I confess to ignorance because it was my first 2 years there. But I disagree with the master plan. I shouldn't say that. I agree with the master plan. I think I would have had more input during the writing of the master plan than I did. But it was out of ignorance. I didn't know exactly how this was going to apply to everything else. I mean, they rewrite the Constitution. We can rewrite the master plan.
Are you proposing that, Alan?
I'm not proposing it. It was way too much work, quite honestly.
Kathy,
I think that there is a little bit of intertwining, and I would support having the tax assessor come in. I think that would be very educational, and could also speak to Alan's emails a little bit because, I think that a vibrant community, we talk about, we want, to have a lot of people being able to come and live here. Taxes are going up. That makes it extremely expensive for a lot of people to live here. So I think I don't think it's the priority, but it could be something that we kind of start to look at because it's intertwined in there. It could be one of the things that we kind of.
I mean, one of the things, thank you. Sorry.
The number one, I don't know. Does that make sense? I think it's not. I think it is intertwined in the master plan as well.
Bill, you had your hand up?
Yes, I don't agree with Alan either. I think that the work that we did on the master plan was the principal objective was balance. That is, democracy is a messy business. You have people who have opinions about everything. And to try to coordinate all of that into one document that is going to be respectively pleasing to most, difficult job. Objective was balance. I think we achieved a lot of that. And I don't think we should go back and try to, reassess what was accomplished by the master plan.
Rich, you have a question.
So, as a process guy, I'd like to ask Tara a process question, if I
Sure.
may. Tara, I did understand when we redid the master plan that these are required by the state. Is it every 5 years for a review?
No, there's no required time, just kind of recommended to look at
Okay,
it 5 or 10 years.
I think it's
5 to 10 years. So,
Yeah.
I do know also that this board approved the master plan that we have now, and we created an action plan from it, and that the intent was to review the items on that action plan as time went on to, check them off, so to speak, as having been completed. But as part of the process, Tara, what is it, or is there a procedure or a practice when a town would relook at when a planning board would relook at its master plan in toto and decide they want to redo it completely or portions of it?
I don't ever recommend doing portions of it because it's supposed to work together as a whole, but I think it's different in every town, and it's when you guys look at the action plan and just don't feel like it's taking you in the right direction anymore would be the time to do an update.
So I would recommend that a discussion, if any board member wants to discuss the action plan items or revisions to the master plan that we have time set aside in a planning board meeting to do exactly that, and then the board make a decision.
Alan, I see you had your hand up.
Thanks. Let me just point out one thing on 8.3.17 on site design. It says review land use regulations to achieve goals of proposed developments. Pretty clear. But 8.13.19 says develop a sense of community, of place and community. So are we a place of tourists coming in to use the gondola? Or are we a place of community that has, less development, fewer tourists bringing in their cars with parking problems and all that sort of stuff? So this is the discussion I want to have. Are we, just going to develop ourselves into oblivion? Or are we going to regulate the development to continue with our sense of place and community?
I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
Well, you've got limited land left.
I would argue, or I would make the point, excuse me, that if any planning board member has an issue with something in the specific issue with something specific in the plan, in the master plan or the action items, they bring it to the full board. We have a heads up ahead of time what those are, so the rest of the board can study them and understand what the issue is. And then we have a discussion about it. I'm not prepared today to discuss any specific element of the master plan that we approved a year or so ago. So any board member can bring it to the attention through the proper procedure to the chair.
Would you be okay with that, Alan? We'll do something like that, come forward.
Sure.
No, we're doing it right now, but you're making it aware of what you would like to see. So if you bring it to us, let me know and I can put it on the agenda for next month.
And we can have a heads up so we know what it is and can
What
do our research.
specifically?
Well, I see what the argument you're making, it makes total sense. But it's the same argument I made 2 minutes ago about not understanding what the master plan was all about from my perspective. So yeah, I don't know what you want me to write to put on the agenda item. You want me to write a legal brief that says, these are the issues I want to look at. I'm not going to do that.
I mean, I would suggest I wrote down the two things that you just cited at 8.1319. Those things that you take particular issue with, I think would be the ones we would want to discuss.
It's not that I take issue with them. It's that I'm telling when I read this, they conflict. So what I want the board to do is look at these conflicts and make a decision on what we really want to do. That's our action item.
Okay, so that's what you send John.
That's what we'll bring forward, yeah.
Okay.
Tara, did you have any further comments?
No, I'm looking at the action plan and not finding something with those numbers, so it'll be helpful to have you send it out, Alan, more, as they say, more specifically, so that we're all looking at the same thing, and I'll be happy to explain my, give my perspective on them when you do.
Alan, that would be a good start, okay, if we could just start there.
I'll do my best.
All right, and let talk with Tara or me about that, and please let me know because I make out the agenda. So if you speak to either one of us, make sure you just put both of us on the email.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Just one
Mike.
quick,
Yep.
Alan, I love you, you know that.
We're
One of
together.
One of the things that we have to remember is that long ago, 30 years ago, more, when we first bought here, the concept of a gondola has been around for Waterville Valley forever,
Since its inception.
Yeah, decades,
right?
decades.
Well, for as long as most of us can remember. And I'm not saying it's a positive, I'm not saying it's a negative. Most of us understood that there was a plan for a gondola here forever. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. It's not new. It's not a new concept.
And I think people forget, we're a tourist town, we're a ski
Well,
town.
but wait,
Are you
wait,
kidding me?
this comes back to a question
Okay.
I have.
Go ahead.
And the question I have is this. Are we a resort that has a town, or are we a town that has a resort?
Can we save that? to-
And that's,
Yeah, we can't-
and you're right, that's a whole other discussion, but I was kind of responding to my buddy John at when he just said, it's an interesting question
We've had to deal with, as you said.
forever.
I would also just recommend that, I think our schedule in May is going to be quite full.
Yes, it
With the site plan, applications
Yes.
coming our way.
That's,
So,
that's immediate present business.
I think we need to
Yeah.
look at this instead of loading up a particular schedule, but find something. One of our meetings this year that we can have this kind of in-depth discussion.
Yep. Yep, and I agree with you on that, sure. And I'll make out when I make out the agenda, any comments come back to me, we'll adjust it accordingly, okay?
Good.
I'll send it a little earlier if I can. Alan, go ahead.
I agree with Mike that the plan for a gondola has been here forever, but the people of the town have not been here forever. My sense is that there's enough people in town that don't appreciate the idea of a gondola. My real goal in this whole thing is to
We'll
get
take
this.
that up another time though.
I understand now. All I was saying is, and I know what you're saying, and the population of the town rolls over and changes and everything else. The concept of a gondola is not new. It's been there forever. Good, bad, or indifferent.
And we're gonna move on. Thank you. Tara, this is an HOP information that you and I discussed a little bit. And I wonder if you could just kind of start that off for us.
Yes, and
And also, Tara, we have a new planner. Don't we have a new one in place for Caitlin, I believe? If you could remember or give us her name, I forget what it is, but.
yeah, she's just gonna be doing the admin. I don't think,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so, just if I could just say one thing before that, the
yeah.
master plans, just a reminder to the planning board, so it's clear. The planning board voted to support the gondola. The town master plan says that the town will support the gondola. So, Alan, that may be something you want to put on your revisit list, but that recommendation is articulated specifically. And John, just what I wanted to give an update. I know that you'll have the site plan, or at least the submission next month. I won't be scheduling the public hearing because there'll be waiver requests. But because of the grant, the HUP grant deadline, I'll need to have a little bit of time on the agenda, because my last task on the grant is actually to review the master plan and make sure that it adequately supports the resort's employee housing plan for the housing on the national forest. That was specifically in the grant application submitted by the town. So I need to do that review and be able to report on it at the May planning board meeting, because we need to close out the grant billing in June.
Understood. Yep. Okay. Was there any privilege of the floor, any comments or anything? Okay. Tara, so we can go, do you want to talk a little bit more about the HOP or?
No, that's it. Just a heads up that I'll need some time next month to report on my findings after I do that review.
Okay, all right. We'll do that. Okay, so we can go right to correspondence then.
Yeah, let me go grab it off my desk, sorry.
Okay, I'll wait.
I have a question though. When I saw the master plan, on the agenda, I thought too, are we as a group kind of picking one or two? Like we
No.
did last year? Are we doing that again this
No.
year? No, we're not. Okay.
No, the only reason why we did it this way, it was trying to clear up, as I understood it, Tara and I talked a little bit about it, and as I understood it, we're trying to clear up one person's
Okay,
comments or I'm not sure about the plan, so.
Well,
we
my,
want-
my hope would be that you'd do that every year, that you'd look at the action plan and decide what your priorities would be, especially in terms of zoning amendments and any changes to the site plan and subdivision regulations, stuff that you're the lead on.
So it should, the whole board should be,
yeah, I thought we were supposed to review the master plan, pick a couple things that thought we wanted to bring forward and, you know, either do little committee or whatever it was, just to kind of start to discuss as a group what our priorities are for the year.
okay.
Other than the normal business of CIP and, you know, the
Understood.
Right, to be proactive about it, yeah.
but.
We can work on that, yeah.
Yeah.
Bill?
And that, in my opinion, that was the purpose of the action plan, which was not that we want to take out the master plan document and start churning it again, but to look at those individual
Right.
pieces to say, are we making any progress with each of these items?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
That too.
Very well
Like,
put, Mr.
We're
Secretary.
gonna
Thank you.
move forward with this, still the dark sky piece, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
That's still a priority. like,
That's still on the agenda, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So, the town of Holderness sent you guys a butter notice for an application for site plan review submitted by Wright Pierce as an agent for Plymouth Village Water and Sewer. To put in district to install well pumps, prefabricated building, water lines, buried electrical conduit, communications tower, and associated site work. For consideration on their Tuesday, April 16th meeting.
I haven't seen this.
Where do we abut Holderness?
Oh, everywhere.
It's required because of the communication tower.
Yeah.
Okay.
They sent us a notice.
Yeah.
So if you wanna
Where are
read
they
the
talking
full
about
thing,
doing?
I've got
Don't
it.
understand it.
Where are they talking about doing said tower?
They just gave us a plan reference. I don't know the exact location. It is just a statutory notification requirement. It is not visible from the town of Waterville Valley. It has no effect on us. Statutorily, they are required to send us. If you would like, we'll give you the plan notice, the reference, and you can look up the plan. I'm sure it's on the town of Holderness
Yeah,
website, but it has no impact on us.
To have an impact on 49?
I.
I'm just
probably
curious.
not. It's
Okay.
probably over by 175.
it's on one that says
Route 25.
175.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so that's not gonna solve 49, Route
No.
49 problem. Okay.
I
That
don't
was
see
my-
it as a
There
problem.
was another plan to do that.
Yeah.
I like that I'm
He's
dead
He's
for-
trying in Thornton, so.
I-
hear this year. If we get the permit, stuff.
Okay, no, I just was asking that question.
No, good question.
okay. Anything else on that, Alicia?
No, it just
Okay.
came in the mail.
And town core group?
Working group, yeah, so we've met twice since we all last met. On March 15th, we discussed really the Boulder Path project. And there was a discussion, the survey won't be done until July. There was some discussion about on-site parking on Boulder Path. And then we went over Snowsbrook Road and just what Piper's schedule is with them. But then we met again April 9th. We spoke a lot about signage. And there's the Valley Road and the bridge, there's sinkholes, are gonna start working on those over the summer. The Snowsbrook grinding down, I think is, if weather permits, they're gonna start April 22nd. Hopefully they'll be done by Memorial Day. And then we had a discussion about dog poop for quite a while. It was very impassioned as far as
Most important.
Really?
like just what we can do to encourage dog owners to clean up after their pets. I'm a dog owner myself. I love my dog. We keep him on our leash and we pick up the poop. So there was discussion about appreciation for the stations around town. A quick discussion too about the difference between, you're out in Livermore and your dog's off leash and they're, hiking versus the town core area where you've got kids running around and people are walking and stuff and trying to keep that cleaner. So we're gonna talk about maybe putting some clever signs up and maybe, you know, putting more stations with refills for bags. And so it's a very impassioned discussion, as you can tell.
And the,
Brought up a lot of emotions.
Yep. sounds good.
Okay,
Yeah.
is there a question?
Uh, Go ahead.
Did the town group talk about places? What you see is people, you know, they have a little bag and tie a little knot, but then they carry it around and they don't have a place to put it.
We did discuss that because it talked about, you know, there wasn't necessarily really a conclusion. It came up because, you know, sometimes people don't put them in trash bins. They'll set them on top of the big dumpsters, and then when the dumpsters get, you know, deposited, they go flying everywhere. Or they'll drop them in the barrels by the you know, thinking that's a
They
trash.
drop them
bin.
in the flower barrels.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
you know, so we talked about, you know, like, that was what then led to, are the barrels gonna be, you know, utilized for flowers? So, yeah, go ahead.
We'll talk about this at the selectmen's meeting, just so you can keep
Because-
your meeting going on.
Yeah, who's
Okay.
responsible then for emptying out the trash? That was the whole.
Yeah.
You know,
It's really
It's a
Okay,
town operation.
trash and beer.
Yeah.
I understand.
So,
I have an interesting observation. In front of us, and we know where we live, everybody knows, I think everybody knows where we live. Theoretically, we now have the new biking, walking path. It is really very interesting. The vast majority of people don't use it. I still see bikers on their bikes right down the middle of the street.
That's where they're supposed to be.
They should-
The bikers are supposed to be riding
Most
bikes.
people do
Chairman,
use.
we're gonna have this conversation at the select board. meeting. I would encourage
Okay.
members
Never
to come
mind.
to the select board. Not that I wanna cut you off, Mike, but.
No, let me know when it is, and
It's fascinating.
I may or may not be able to
It's right
get
on the
there.
website.
Maybe I'll-
They're heavily used.
Hopefully I'm
Next
traveling.
Wednesday.
Yeah, it's fat, it is.
We're gonna, yes, absolutely.
Just to clarify that, the date that meeting will be
Wednesday at 3.
at
Next
3,
Wednesday
at 3 o'clock.
at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Next
Thank
Wednesday.
you. I just wanna.
Maybe I'll get four, I can only just be away.
So why don't everyone with questions plan on coming to that meeting and,
And it'll be.
I'll try and be away.
well, it'll help you.
all right. Nick,
So the Conservation Commission. We've got, this is in regards to the mitigation in the pond and the brook coming into the pond. We have verbal approval from the Forest Service, but the Conservation Commission needs written approval for that project.
Excuse me.
Rick Vanderpool is working on that project to help us out through that. We also have a grant to do that, just to let everyone know that we have a grant on that. But Rick is also in charge of that grant. He's moving forward with that. So as you know, it's the Forest Service, it's kind of a little bit of a holdup, but a verbal approval versus a written approval, are a little two different things. So we're waiting on that written approval to go forward with this project. The next conservation meeting, in case anyone is interested, is April 17. And that's about all I have on that commission information. Any questions
I have a
about that?
question for the commissioner. Do you know, I just out of curiosity, I was walking up. I don't know the name of the road that goes off Golden Heights. I don't know if that's a road or a path or a
No,
driveway.
it is a road. You're talking about the new road they put in. to the
Yeah.
right,
At the very top,
At the top or the one just
by
beyond,
condos.
in front of the condo.
In front of the condo.
Yeah, that is a private, that is private.
I thought it was like a
We
private,
only go up to the
Right.
top and turn around. and
Right.
come back.
right,
The road they put in to access those new houses is a private,
That is a.
it's got a name. I don't recall the name of it.
it doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't know what it is, and there's no sign, I don't care. But there's that one vacant lot there. You know the one, I mean, you and I have talked about it. There's like a river going through it,
There is.
all right? And I'm just curious because I believe that's a buildable lot,
It is.
which scares me, but I'm just making that. I don't need another hat to wear, but you and I have talked about it.
The commission has an
scares
eye
me.
on it and we'll stay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And And it just, I don't know how it's a buildable lot,
Yeah.
but that's beside the point.
So,
I have a question. I'm not sure if it's under the Conservation Commission or the town. There's that water barrel on 49. That's like, it's
In
not a
the river.
spring. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
it
a
used to be
spring.
for like the horses. So
US Force.
it's US Forest Service. Okay, thank you. That's the answer I wanted. Thanks.
yeah,
That's
so
it.
you can water your horse anytime you want.
Mm.
Okay, so we're moving along here. So our next meeting is gonna be on May 9th. And that sounds like a pretty good day.
Hang on,
May
May 9th,
Say that time.
yeah, just say the date, and be here.
9th.
Anybody wanna make a motion or anything?
Motion to adjourn.
Well, we
Well,
have,
we have to go to non-public? Is that what this is?
Yeah.
I'm not sure,
It's not non-public, it's just a meeting with council. You can end this meeting.
Yeah, we can end this one and then move on.
Have your discussion.
little
with
break.
council.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for your service today. So everyone hang around about in 20 minutes, the lawyer will be here.
Yeah, and as soon as he gets here, we can.
Fire him up.
Okay.
Yeah.